Going back at the track over his head and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right. Away back. Goal.
Shohei hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to A's Cast Live as the Oakland Athletics are going to be taking on the New York Yankees here on a Friday night, and we are in the Treehouse. It's happy hour time. People are going to be rolling in about 4:30, so we'll have drink specials. We'll have games. It's the best party in all of Major League Baseball right here, the Treehouse outside. We're going to have the DJ going. Does not get any better than Friday nights here at the Coliseum. What a matchup tonight. Garrett Cole against former Yankee J.P. Sears. His numbers, by the way, are just off the charts. You think about him as a starter. J.P. Sears has started his career 5-0 with a 1.93 ERA. But as a starter, he's got a 1.04. That counts for the Yankees and the Athletics. So he actually has been dominant. His secondary pitches you're going to hear a lot about, as we'll talk about it here. I'll bring it up on A's Total Access also for our stat of the day, brought to you by Mechanics Bank, as 0.80 on his secondary pitches. That's his slider and his curveball. I mean, his slider and his changeup. I mean, just unreal. I mean, this kid, his start has been beautiful, and how he will pitch against his former team, as yesterday we saw the entire New York media surround him. You normally think for J.P. Sears, but this is New York. They make a big deal out of it. And not only did the entire New York media that has traveled with the Yankees here to the Coliseum do a scrum with him, they all wanted a one-on-one with him. You talk about how different certain markets are. We got a great show for you today. You are who?
I am David Feldman.
He is going to be on right now. We're going to have the great Billy Beane at 4:30 to talk about the 2002 team, who we are celebrating this weekend. We now have an Sarris show. The columnist for The Athletic is now going to join us every single weekend. This will be his first show, and we're going to have him throughout the season, the off season. Can't wait to have him every single week. When you talk about data and crunching numbers in our game, not many people better than Sarris. And then we're going to have Mark Kotsay, the Mark Kotsay show, as we do every single Friday. But one of the reasons, normally we do our top 10s with you, Feldy, but today we're talking about the 0-2 team, and specifically the 20-game winning streak. You are one of only two non-A's employee, personnel, however you like to talk about. A guy who wasn't getting paid by the A's is the most simple way, who is here for all 20 games. Just you and the great Ray Fosse.
Yeah, all 20 games. I was working with A's Television at the time, KICU on the broadcast side, and it was Fox Sports Bay Area on the cable side. And I was at every game that season. I was at every game for 5 straight seasons, but every game of the streak. And so I saw it all. And it was it's 20 years ago, and it's still as fresh as yesterday.
You know, we were talking to Billy Beane earlier today, and like I said, you're going to see it at 4:30 about it. And, for the streak, we remember it as A's fans. I was at KMBR at the time working on the morning show, and we remember how great it was. But Billy kind of put you back into reality going, listen, the Angels were winning every night too. So, as a general manager at the time, and back when Billy was a younger GM, doing everything he can to win every single game, and he's gripping everything, you couldn't really sit back and enjoy it because you weren't gaining the ground you normally would in a streak like that.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about that year, right? You look at the 2002 year, and we've seen the movie about it, and they got off to a tough start. I mean, no Jason Giambi, no Johnny Damon, no Jason Isringhausen. So they brought new players in. and it takes a while to gel. And this team didn't really gel the first 2 months, and they had a terrible road trip. They went 1-6, got swept in Toronto, long flight home. There was stuff that went on the plane. We get back to the ballpark on Monday, and it was like dark Monday, right? Frank Menachino sent out.
Yeah.
Jeff Tam sent out. Carlos Pena, the guy you traded to be your first baseman. Not like in the movie. Hatterberg wasn't going to be the first baseman right away there.
What?
I know.
It's easy to play first base. I saw the movie.
So Carlos Pena was your first base. He's sent out, right? And the next day they trade Jeremy Giambi. And it was just cleaning house. But it worked, right? This team, they were 10 games out at one point, and then they get to play the National League Central. They played the Giants and also the National League Central. They went 16-1.
Yeah.
They have a 16-1 stretch that gets them 4 games out of first place. That's how far back they were to get 16-1. And even when they start the 20-game win streak, they're still 4.5 games back in third place when the streak started. So there was nothing like this streak. Hatterberg gets a home run. They win the division. Everybody's happy. You know what? They win the 20th game. They go to Minnesota. They lose the Friday night game, but then they win Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in Anaheim. So it's 23-1 they go. But again, they lose the next 3 games in Anaheim, and they're a game out. With 11 games to go, they're tied for the division lead, right? So this was no cakewalk. And for the A's, yeah, they were going to make the playoff. They were going to be the 1 wild card team. But if they had been the wild card team, they would have played the Yankees again. And we knew what happened in 2000, 2001. The A's wanted no part of the Yankees. They needed to win the division to make sure they avoided the Yankees. Now, in hindsight, maybe it would have been different. But at the time, you didn't want to play the Yankees. So you wanted to win the division. They go 9-2 down the stretch to win the division. But every game was a grind because the Angels refused to lose.
Yeah, the very start wasn't that bad. They were a little over 500. Then they went in the tank, and then, as you said, 16-1. That right, there was always something about interleague play with that era of A's teams. There was always, and you could say, when you're constantly switching up players every year, it takes time to gel, figure out how to play together and everything. But there was something about as soon as they saw the National League, it didn't matter if it was the West, Central, or East. Things would change with interleague play.
They really did. And they went 3-0 against Houston, 3-0 against Milwaukee, took 2 out of 3 from the Giants. Then they go on the road, and they take 3 straight in Cincinnati. I don't think I've ever told you this story. The A's are in Cincinnati, and I actually got a game ball for an A's victory.
You got Cincinnati?
In Cincinnati.
By the way, was that still Riverfront?
It was still Riverfront. So last year, Riverfront. God. So we could see the new ballpark being built just over left field, left center field. There it is. But so Art Howe was making the A's lineup up, and he had John Mabry on the bench because if he had played Mabry, he would have had 4 straight left-handers in the lineup, and he knew the Reds only had 1 left-handed reliever, but he wanted to break it up. Somehow, I don't know how, I heard that Gabe White, the Reds' left-handed reliever, was unavailable that day. And I told Art, I said, Art,
this is inside info. You could get investigated for this kind of stuff.
I still remember how I heard. I said, Art, they don't have their left-hander today. And he looks at me and he goes, really? He goes, maybe I'll change the lineup. So he puts Mabry in. What does Mabry do? Hits a game-winning homer in the 7th inning. After the game, he says, I think we'll give the game ball to Mr. Feldman.
You still have that?
He never actually gave me a ball. But I have the newspaper article, so that's sort of close. I always thought I should have gotten a playoff share.
You know what? You know what I'm thinking? I'm going to go get a ball. Art's going to be here for the celebration. Hey, Art, you owe me. Yeah. You may not remember or care. You owe me a signed ball for the game ball for that game.
Game ball in Cincinnati. So they sweep that series. They go to Pittsburgh, they sweep that series, and they're just rolling. They really picked up steam. The other thing that happened on that road trip, and this is something I'll never forget as well, was when we were in Pittsburgh. Again, new players. Takes time to gel. And David Justice was one of those new players. And Justice comes in. He's kind of a celebrity, right? Married to Halle Berry. Yeah, the Atlanta, the championship, playing in New York.
Now, there is a scene where, nah, man, Yankees are paying half your salary to play against you.
It's true. But I remember we're in the lobby in Pittsburgh, and they have the night off, so they're going to go to dinner. And David Justice and Jermaine Dye made sure every player on the team was invited to dinner. Not one player left out. They said, we're going, and we're all going. And, this was in June, and that's kind of how long it took for this team to really find themselves and get to know each other, these new players, new personalities. But that night solidified it for me. It was like, wow, that's what leaders do, for one. They make sure everybody is included, and it pays off.
Well, there is no doubt. I mean, Dave Justice was a star.
Yeah.
I mean, for his time, he's one of the most recognizable faces. Too many times we think of stats with stars. Stars are bigger than stats. That's why they're stars.
Right.
They're star players stat-wise. But as you mentioned, when you're married to one of, at that time, most popular actresses, you've been in all these playoff games. I mean, ever since would he come at 19?
Yeah, with the Braves. He was very young.
18 or 19. He was super young when he came up because he signed early. And his entire career was in the postseason.
Yeah.
So there's something, too, when Dave Justice came to the A's.
It was, and it was this celebrity. Yeah, he wasn't going to have the offensive output that Jason Giambi was going to have, but he has some cachet. He's still David Justice. And the other thing that gets kind of lost in this whole year is the A's made a big acquisition at the end of July, and that was Ray Durham. And you think, why did the A's even get Ray Durham? Mark Ellis was a rookie, but he was playing second base and doing a great job. But again, it just solidified a leadoff hitter. Ray Durham was the A's leadoff hitter and DH. Didn't really play second. It was all Mark Ellis. But now all of a sudden you had Ray Durham leading off, Scott Hatteberg batting second, playing first base again, and the lineup is just now set. Right? It's just Tejada and Chavez and Justice and Terrence Long, Ramon. It's just now you have a set lineup going down the stretch. And it getting Ray Durham, it was like the final piece. They needed that player. And you look at his numbers again, they won't blow you away for what he did with the A's. He hit 270, hit a couple home runs.
Wait. Hold on.
I know.
Hold on. I'm going to look up at a scoreboard tonight. I'm assuming, I haven't seen the lineups, but I'm assuming Aaron Judge is going to be in the lineup tonight, right? Aaron Judge at one point last night was hitting 298. You're telling me a leadoff guy, now Benintendi's hitting over 300, but you're going to see where I'm going here, folks. We're going to look at a scoreboard tonight and see everybody's basically under 240.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me the A's had a leadoff hitter hitting 270. That was real?
It was real, and it was kind of disappointing that Ray Durham was a 300 hitter and he was hitting 270.
Can you imagine now we'd be talking about him battling for the batting title?
Exactly. But he did what they needed him to do. Steal bases, play big games. He hit a couple homers in the postseason, had the inside the park homer.
And the White Sox, remember when they got him from the White Sox? White Sox had a good time during. They were good. They had some good teams.
It was a good team. The Giants end up signing Ray Durham. He played there for a long time, had some big years. But again, Billy, and I've always felt this, when the A's are in that situation where they have a chance to win, he's so good at picking those pieces that are going to really help you, right? He knows what's going to help this team. Him and David Force both. We saw it last year with getting Starley Marte and Gomes and Chafin and Harrison. These were the players the A's needed. Now, it didn't work out for other reasons, not because those guys failed. They were the perfect additions to this team. And Ray Durham in 2002, along with Ricardo Rincon, right? The A's knew they needed a left-handed reliever. Mike Magnani wasn't getting it done anymore. They needed to bolster it. They said, you know what? Ricardo Rincon, well, he's across the hall. Let's get him. And that scene in the movie, of all the scenes, was pretty much the closest to what really happened. We're kind of playing phone tag and getting people involved and working the magics on the phone. That was pretty close to reality of what that night was like.
Yeah, and he was literally right down the hall.
Right down the hall.
Magnante, by the way, wasn't he almost at the 10-year, the golden? Oh, that's a rough conversation.
It was rough. And Magnani, he put his heart and soul into it out there. You saw the knee braces in the movie. Again, reality. He pitched with knee braces. And he gave it his all. He just didn't have anything left.
Having read the book Moneyball and watched the movie Moneyball, obviously, they didn't have any pitching. And that's how that team won was I don't even think, did they have pitchers? Because they don't even mention pitching in the book. So were they allowed to have pitchers in 2002?
Well, no, Chad Bradford got a whole chapter.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Because he's coming from down
here. No, it's funny. The first time I saw the movie Moneyball, it was so hard for me not to watch it like a documentary. I lived this. I was with these guys every day. And I'm like, well, that's in heaven. This is terrible. And then I went and saw it a second time, and I watched it as a movie.
It's entertainment.
And you go, this is a really good movie. This is really entertaining.
It was up for an Oscar, by the way, folks, the movie. And it's a best-selling book even to this day.
And it's just, and you go, well, they didn't mention Hudson, Mulder, Zito. You go, well, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about them. It wasn't about Tejada or Chavez. So you got to kind of say that to yourself. It's not about those guys. This is what it's about. It's about doing more with less and finding, those hidden gems and whatnot. But yeah, they had some pitching. Right? They had Mulder, Hudson, and Zito, and Corey Lytle. And during the streak, Corey Lytle was the best of them all. 32 straight scoreless innings. And we're talking tonight, game 13 is the anniversary. He gave up a run in game 13. It was unearned because David Justice sort of lost a ball on the lights. It could have been ruled. In today's game, it probably been ruled a hit, but I called it an error. Run still scored, unearned run. But Corey Lytle, unbelievable run. So now you have Mulder, Hudson, Zito, and Corey Lytle, who's dealing. Aaron Harang was the fifth starter, and he was okay. He kept you in games, but those top four during the streak, money.
So Billy Beane is going to tell you coming up here at 4:30, right? At 4:30, there was a game that Corey Lytle pitched against the Athletics they would have been the Devil Rays at the time. And after that game, he was obsessed with him and getting him. You're going to hear that at 4:30 when we talk about this. But yes, Corey was just dominant. And that's how you can go 16-1. That's how you can win 20 in a row, is as much as we talk mainly about offense, guys feeding off of each other, good and bad, right? Lineups get hot and cold together. So do staffs, that all of a sudden everybody starts winning. Everybody actually pitches innings, which is something we don't see anymore. But, if one guy goes 8 and wins, I want to go 8 or close it, and they start feeding off of each other. And that's really how streaks, it's how Cleveland broke the record.
Right. They won 22 in a row in the same sort of situation where guys got hot and everybody's playing together. The interesting thing about this streak, as they lose a game on a Monday night to Toronto by 1 run. And Terrence Long hit a leadoff triple in the 8th, and the A's couldn't score him. And it just felt like we're back to the bad A's again. Because, again, a little bit of up and down with this 2002 season. But the next 11 games, the first 11 games of the streak, the A's never trailed at the end of an inning. That's how easy it was, right? They were dominating. They never trailed. And finally, game 12 was the game in Detroit where they're down 7-2. They pinch hit Greg Myers. He hits a home run leading off an inning, starts this rally. John Mabry again, huge hit. They come back and win. And then they go to Kansas City. And I'm sure Billy might have talked about this. They get to Kansas City, and now there's a threat of a strike.
Yes.
Right? There's going to be a strike. There's labor unrest. We don't know what's going to happen. So as the streak's going on, there's this whole other thing happening with the players, which is really overshadowing this A's winning streak because baseball might shut down by Friday. So they win Monday, they win Tuesday, they win the Wednesday night in Kansas City. Again, another great moment. The A's win their 15th in a row, set an Oakland record for consecutive wins, beating the 14th straight by the 88 A's. Get in the clubhouse after the game. Everybody's excited. Eric Burns had caught the final out. Eric, where's the ball? I threw it into the stands. Dude, we got it. He goes, do you want me to go back and get it? What do you do? Who are you going to go back and get it from? But they had no idea if they were going to play on Friday. And that was the amazing thing. You won 15 in a row. You're in this pennant race, and you have no idea if you're playing on Friday. Thursday comes. It's an off day. Things get settled. Thank goodness. They're playing Friday, and this place, the Coliseum's electric. Minnesota Twins are in town. Jock Jones for the Twins leads off with a home run. I'm like, uh-oh. Ray Durham in the bottom of the inning leads off with a home run, and it's on. And that's just, it's such a great homestand with the Twins. The Sunday game, Mulder's dealing. It looks like he's going to have a complete game shutout. Gives up back-to-back home runs. They take him out. Billy Koch come in, who's Billy Koch pitched every day. He gives up a home run to Michael Kadire, and the A's are trailing. Go to the bottom of the inning, Miguel Tejada, off Eddie Guardado, 3-run homer, walk-off winner. Now we go to Labor Day. This is a Monday afternoon game. The A's look dead. Look, sometimes a day game after a day game is harder than a day game after a night game. For whatever
these guys are not one to get up early in the morning.
No,
that's not their. In spring training, yes, but during the regular season, no, we're a night game.
We're night game, so day game after day game can be tough. The A's are trailing 5-0 to the Royals. And it looks like, well, this is it. It's a good run. It's going to end at 18. And Reynolds Hernandez, the pitcher for the Royals, for whatever reason, buzzes Jermaine Dye right at his head. Right at his head. Dye jumps back. You can see the A's dugout. I was like, something clicked. Everybody woke up, and it's on. The A's come roaring back. They win on walk-off fashion again. Miguel Tejada against Jason Grimsley. Remember that name. He's going to give up another big walk-off hit. And the place is just nuts. So now you win. It's 19 in a row, and you have Tuesday off. Tuesday's an off day because the A's wanted to have a home game on Labor Day. So they have Tuesday off. We have to wait till Wednesday night, to come back to try for Game 20 against the Royals. And, that game's pretty famous. They made a movie about it.
Miguel Tejada, we're hoping is going to be here this weekend. That's kind of like, when he's here, he's here.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been back. Well, he's been back as a player.
Came back as a Royal.
Oriole.
Yeah.
I mean, he's come back, but Miguel Tejada coming back as Miguel Tejada in Oakland.
This is a celebration of Miguel Tejada.
Yeah, Miguel Tejada was a terrific Oakland A.
Oh, he's
an MVP for God's sakes. I think it's time to it's time for him to get his due.
It is, and he deserves this. And the numbers that he put up as shortstop, as coming up as a young player, making his debut in '97. Starting as a guy who batted 8th in the lineup, and it's him and Xavi right batting 7th and 8th, and they slowly move their way up in the lineup as people leave and they get better, and then they were just the dominant players. In 2002, Tejada was dominant. He was dominant offensively and defensively and in the clubhouse. He had a big personality. And they gravitated towards him. He was, he's interesting. He's a different cat. His English wasn't great, but he played with emotion. And I think the fans of Oakland really appreciated that.
Well, and it was a situation where you kind of forgot about Giambi because you have a different, there's the guy. Giambi was the guy.
He was the man.
I'll never forget. It was the day game. I'm in the press box. The old left-handed reliever for the Yankees,
Mike Stanton.
Mike Stanton. He hits the home run off Stanton. Giambi was the guy.
It's the man, because that's the Bill Kings. Jason Giambi is the man.
Because I was sitting with Bruce McGowan and I were sitting there, and it was like, oh my God.
Wait, did Bruce stop talking at any point during that day?
Do you know back when the Giants came here in 19? I love you,
We love Bruce, yes.
So Tejada took over that role.
Yeah.
Someone had to take over the role as the dude, and it's time. And we think he's going to be here. When he's here, we'll know he's here, and it's time for him to get celebrated by A's fans.
100%. Steve Schott in his new book that he wrote with John Shea, they talk about the decision whether to sign Tejada, and they thought they were going to embarrass him with an offer. And Steve Schott loved Miguel Tejada. Steve Schott's mom favorite player was Miguel Tejada. And truthfully, there was so much love there. And Steve Schott knew that he couldn't keep him. He knew it. And he didn't want to embarrass him with a low ball offer. And unfortunately, they went with Eric Chavez and gave Eric Chavez a very nice contract. Still the biggest money contract in A's history, $66 million. But Xavi didn't stay healthy through it. And it didn't pay off, right? So, Tejada goes to Baltimore and drives in 150 runs in 2004. Is the MVP, wins the home run derby. It's a shame, but he needs to be honored for what he did with the A's because he was so good. And again, just a turning point player as part of this franchise.
Now I am going to test our A's historian.
Uh-oh.
This is a man that's done so much television, scorekeeping, whatever, all the things you've done around the A's.
All of that stuff. Yeah.
All right, he's done all this stuff. That's why he's our A's historian, of course. Pac-12 Network. He'll be A-State. And who's your first game?
We got Northern Arizona and Arizona State on Thursday.
Hey, Herm, you play to win the game.
The great Roxy Bernstein on the call.
I am going to test your knowledge of the streak. What is the most played highlight that happened during the 20-game streak? What highlight was played more than any other?
I would imagine it was Scott Hatterberg's walk-off home run.
Not even close.
Tejada's home run. Tejada's base hit. I have no idea then.
I take you back to Cleveland. Jermaine Dye rips the ball over the left field wall. It bounces through because they have that gate-like and the guy runs after it and face plants into the concrete. Ball keeps rolling. Guy tries to kick the ball, and it keeps rolling, and then the lady just picks it up down the street. That highlight is still played to this day. And if you remember back then, you're thinking maybe just locally. Back then, nationally, SportsCenter played it over and over and over. It was like the highlight of the year because we didn't have MLB Network. All of our highlights came from ESPN, and that highlight still gets played to this day.
Our esteemed A's producer, Delaire Lewis, he loves that highlight. And he'll play it anytime Cleveland's in town. He'll play it anytime Jermaine Dice.
See what I'm saying?
He loves it. And it's hilarious because the guy just biffs it, and then the woman just picks up the ball and is like, hey, it's great.
And he hit hard.
And
I've always wondered what happened to him.
Yeah, I think a lot of dental work is what happened to him because I don't want to see the aftermath. Oh, man.
And I don't think you haven't been in the truck for any of the highlights of these games, have you?
A few of them, sure.
Were you when we recently replayed it? Were you in the truck?
I was actually in the booth with Dallas and Glenn, and Dallas really had not seen it.
Oh, I can't. You can't stop laughing.
It is funny, and hopefully 20 years later that guy's fine, new teeth and all. But it was it's so funny the first time you see it because it's just he goes down hard. He goes down like how the Raiders wanted the quarterback to go down. He must go down hard.
Face first
oh
into
my
the country.
God!
I feel so bad for him. Great stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Sunday to see all these guys again. I mean, you talk about certain teams that you're attached to, and that era A's, those were my guys. I was fortunate enough to travel with them and get to know them as even a little bit off the field, and heartbreaking playoffs, but the regular seasons were unbelievable, and they were such a good group of people.
We need to get that baseball signed by Art Howe. Yeah. We need to get that. We always appreciate the time.
My pleasure, Townie. Great to be in the Treehouse.
Up next, the great Billy Beane, talking about the team he built in 2002, right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
Hey A's fans, check out Longport Fish Company, an exciting new chef-driven seafood restaurant located in the Veranda Shopping Center in Concord. Longport features the highest quality lobsters, oysters, king salmon, flavorful cioppino, and much, much more. It features a full bar of craft cocktails, local brews, and a curated wine list. Longport Fish Company is for all occasions too. Date night, business meetings, catching an A's game at the bar, or bringing the whole family. Check us out at longportfc.com, on Yelp, and on all social media.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
Coming in at 5'3", it's number one mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
Us here on A's Cast Live. He's the Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations. The great Billy Beane is back with us. Billy, it's been a while. How are you, and how's life with the family and everything?
Well, good. Well, as the family's going good, as you just like everybody else, kids just back in school. It seems like summers are getting shorter and shorter as I get older with the kids. But it's been a challenging year on the diamond. As you know, you've been there every night for us, Chris. So, some good things and some things not so good. But I think going into the season, there were some, we had some expectations that there was going to be some bumps along the road. But starting to see some good things, which is good. And listen, it's, this is the trials and tribulations of putting together a team. And we've done it before. So we'll get it on the right track.
Yeah, I said this with David Forrest on the David Forrest Show. If there's anything, you guys got street cred. You've done this so many times that no one's sitting here flipping out going, oh, my God, we could be bad for 20 years like the Pirates were. I mean, you guys got that street cred where you've done this before. But the great thing about today's interview is we're not talking about baseball right now. We're talking about one of your favorite seasons, one of your favorite teams, a lot of people that you absolutely love. We're celebrating the 2002 Oakland Athletics. Of course, the book, the movie, all of that. But I want to get into the actual team and what that season was like, what baseball was like, and where you were in your career at that point. So when we look back, what was baseball like in 2002 for the Athletics, for you, which is so far different than where we are now?
Well, a lot less gray hair. I'll tell you what, it was such an intense time for the organization, myself personally. I mean, every day, again, and part of it was youth. I was a very young guy. David was even younger. I think that was David's third year with us. His first year is 2000. So he was very young in his career. Paul DePodesta was still here. The old gang was all together. And again, just 20 years, it does seem like a long time ago. 20 years is a long time. I still have incredible memories. The one thing about, obviously, the elephant in the room is that was the year that, Michael used to write the book. And in some sense, that team will always sort of continue to live on in the memory of, not just A's fans, but even people who weren't necessarily A's fans, because the book, even to this day, credit to Michael, continues to have, fans and readers, not just in the States, but around the world. It's funny. I was on the phone call from a gentleman who actually, he was in Mallorca, Spain. He lives in London. He's Italian. And we were talking, and I explained, I said, hey, I've got to get off. I'm doing an interview. And he goes, and he knew all about the team. He knew all about the book, despite the fact that he grew up in Italy. Again, you're never going to forget. I won't. This team will always sort of go down, and historically, because of so many things, not just the streak. But it's interesting, and the one thing, and before we were getting ready to speak, Chris, I sort of had to think about myself, like, what's the thing that I remember most about the streak, not just the year, but the streak. All I remember was we won 20 games in a row and barely moved the needle on the Angels behind us. Which, you asked me the question about, where was I in my career? I didn't relax for one day, because we won 20 games, and the idea that you could win 20 straight games and maybe not win the division was very much a possibility, because the Angels were so good and were almost nearly as hot as we were at that time. And so you never really got to enjoy every single win because there was just so much need to win every game because the Angels were right on your rear end. As everybody knows, that team was very good, and they went on to win the World Championship. That's how good they were. So the 20 games, you think 20 games, you'd be in a great mood for 20 days, but you were just really on the edge of your seat because of you're looking over your shoulder the whole time. The other thing I remember about the streak, and we could talk about the whole season and some of the players, but I knew when I almost knew 100%. I say that, but when it was going to end. We had some miraculous finishes. I think Miggy had a game-winning hit, I think, on a day game against Kansas City. In fact, a couple of games in that series. Obviously, Hattie's home run in the 20th game. And I think the Twins, I believe I think Miggy did Miggy hit a homer against the Twins maybe in the weekend before. We were just having just incredible comebacks. But I remember I think we won on a Wednesday. I believe the 20th game was on a Wednesday. And I think we had an off day on a Thursday, and we were traveling, and we played Minnesota. And at that time, Minnesota was A, good. B, the Metrodome was arguably one of the toughest places in sports to play at that time, playing in the Metrodome. And I think Radke was pitching against us. I think it was Brad Radke. I'm pretty sure that was the matchup. I'm not completely sure. But you just knew, like, wow, this is going to be really tough to beat these guys. We were sort of a little mentally exhausted from it. I say we, because I was too. But you kind of knew that was going to be the night, and it was. But that team, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. As many years as I've been here, we have a lot of weekend events with some of the teams of the past, which are wonderful. But I think of all the ones we've had, this is one that I'm looking forward to because I really love those guys in that team. And I sort of look back, and you talk about where I was in my career. Now when I walk in the locker room, I'm definitely a lot older than everybody in there. So, and I start thinking about the group now, and I was not that far. Some of the guys were older than I was. We had guys in that team. I remember I was looking the other day on Doug Jones, the late Doug Jones, unfortunately. And when I was the general manager, he was quite a few years older than me. Like
you were in better shape than some of those guys on the team.
You know what? I think I worked out more than them. Mainly, that was sort of my stress relief. Was during the games. It's sort of common knowledge that I would work out during the game. And in fact, the 20th game, I must have put in 6 miles in the treadmill, and we were still only in the 4th inning, so I had a lot of energy still left in me. But yeah, looking back, I was not that much older than a lot of the guys. So there was really I had a real strong relationship with a number of the players. And particularly Hattie, Scott, who I'm still friends with. He works for us now. We actually, so we're very close. And I look back, they're really a good bunch of guys. And beyond being good baseball players. And the other thing too is that that was the team that was coming off the 01 team was an amazing team. I still think the 2001 team, in my opinion, is the best team from pure just talent and balance that I've ever had since I've been here over the years. And I really thought it was a team that was deserving of a title. It's one of those teams, like you look at the Indians of the 90s that were one of the best teams for a long time that never won a title. I think that 2001 team sort of fits in that category because they didn't win the title. Nobody talked about them. Fast forward to 2002. I remember when we got beaten 2001, the night we got home about 3 a.m, and me and Paul DePodesta were watching everybody unload their bags at 3 a.m. after a tough loss to the Yankees in game 5. And I remember looking at Paul and just saying, and knowing that Johnny Damon was going to be gone, Jason was going to be gone, Jason Jambi, Isringhausen was going to be gone. And I just go, wow, we may never see a team like this. So we were starting 02 a little bit personnel wise in this huge hole. I mean, you win 101 games. I think it was 102 or 101 games. And you lose star players, MVP caliber players. Izzy was one of the best relievers in the game. Johnny Damon, enough said. And so going into that season, there were so many people who expected, just a huge drop off. And for them, I think we ended up winning one more game when it was all said and done. And we also, I think, and that was the year we also started pretty slow too, if you recall. Yeah. We had a really slow start. And
in June, actually, I think it was June. I mean, now you can kind of see why you guys had that streak of 20 games, because it was like in June you rolled off something like 15 out of 16 or 16 out of 17. So you'd had a streak before earlier in the season too that got you back from that slow start.
Yeah, and if you recall, that was also the time and again, I'm see if my memory's correct. We had a slow start, but we knew internally the team was good. It was just still a small sample size, but we knew with some of the stuff, the analytics that we're using, that our team was actually good. We just had some bad luck. That being said, we know in sports, no one sort of buys, when the guy, hey, we're a good team, but we got a bad record. You just got to believe us, right? It doesn't fly. It doesn't fly with you. It doesn't fly with anybody. And I think we got back from Toronto and we were at our sort of low point, but we knew we were a good team. I mean, Paul and I knew, like, hey, this is a good team. We're going to be fine. But it was also when we came back was when we had, I think, it was like a Black Monday where we made all these changes. We moved guys out. And there was this belief that we had sort of created, by virtue of our moves in the front office, that we had sort of made all the right moves that corrected the team. When in reality, we knew we were good. We sort of, the moves we made were more on the fringe, It really didn't affect the core of the team, but because there was a number of moves on that day, there was this idea that we made these genius moves. And in fact, the team was just really good. It just needed to be left alone. And the moves we made were more sort of window dressing and looked good from the outside because the team started playing well, but it wasn't necessarily a result of those moves. That being said, I do think one of the guys we brought in on that day, we brought into the team, we brought in John Mabry, I think was part of that, because I think Jeremy left to Philly and I think Mabry came in. I want to say that was about the same time, and John was incredible for us. I mean, John had, game-winning hits and really just took off as soon as he got here and gave us a real jolt. So, but in reality, the team was really good, and us leaving it alone, probably we would have still had a really good season and probably won the division.
Yeah, we just had John on when he came in with Kansas City on the coaching staff and talked about, this was like the greatest year of my career, and like, it was a special time, and we're holding out hope. We know it may be a possibility that Miguel Tejada could show up for this celebration. And as you mentioned, you lost your primetime guy in Jason Giambi, an MVP, and we know what he meant to this franchise. Little did we know in spring training at that point that Miguel Tejada was about to become a national primetime guy and be an MVP. And he hasn't been back since. I really hope we get to see him and he shows up, because he deserves his due as an Oakland Athletic, and I'm sure you agree.
Oh, well, I mean, it was funny. I got a message from Miggy not too long. It was a couple of months. He sent me a note, and I hadn't heard from him in years, so it was nice to communicate with him, because like everybody, every fan, what you saw on the field with Miguel, the personality was exactly the guy that was in the clubhouse. He just was such a good guy, a tremendous talent too, really a tremendous talent. And so I'm going to be looking forward to seeing him as well. And it was good to see that he's coming out. And I know Huddy will be out here. Hattie will be out here. Mulder, I think I saw Mark Mulder coming out here. I think Terrence Long is going to be it's a really good turnout. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing these guys too. I just saw Ramon. Actually, it was in the clubhouse about a month ago, and Elvis Andrus. I walked by Elvis Andrus, and he was on a FaceTime at the time with Ramon Hernandez, who, like Elvis, is from Venezuela. And so he stopped me. He goes, "Hey, here's one of your friends," and I spoke to Ramon, who I believe is managing in Mexico, I believe, right now, as a manager there. And it was good to talk to Ramon. I saw him here one time too, and it was funny, because you want to talk about the O2 team. I remember Ramon. Ramon, just such a mentally tough. Of all the players here, he was one of the most mentally tough kids we had here. I mean, he really, again, people, forget it. He was a really good player, good offensive catcher, good defensive catcher. And it's funny, I sort of, one of the things I was always a proponent of, and was I never liked collisions at the plate with with catchers. I just thought it was just a play that didn't need to happen. I've always thought that. And the Posey, injuries, certainly I thought prompted rule changes that I think have been good to the game. That's my opinion. I don't buy into this like a catcher sitting there waiting for somebody to clean his clock is a good idea.
Yeah, the old Mike Scioscia sitting there blocking the plate well before the ball ever got there.
I just don't. Again, I just think these are vulnerable positions. Now the catcher has gear on, and sometimes, but still, I just don't think it's a great play. And I was always a proponent of the rule changes that we have now. I think it's been great. And since they've put them in, you don't see those kind of injury-causing collisions. And so the reason I tell this story was Ramon, who was a physically tough guy. And I remember we lost a game in Kansas City. It was a crazy game, and I can't remember the year. It might have been 01. I don't think it was 02. It was like a 15-14. It was one of those crazy games. At the end of the day, Ramon, there was a play at the plate. Kansas City scored, and there was this thought that maybe he could have blocked the plate to save the run and win. And I remember going to Ramon and going, I don't ever want you blocking the plate. I said, I'd rather lose one game than lose you for 2 weeks. And that was my belief. And, because he certainly was tough enough. I don't think necessarily, blocking the plate is necessarily a very pragmatic idea with one of the most important positions on the field. And that was the message I used to give when Kurt Suzuki came over. I told Kurt, because he was here when the rule change happened. I said, Kurt, I don't want you sacrificing your body for one run. I need you for the whole year, and I'm willing to give up that run or that game for you to stay healthy. And again, I think the game has evolved. But the reason I remember Ramon is that Ramon caught a little grief, from I think not the general public, but just people like, why didn't you throw your whole body there? And to me, it just wasn't a good idea. And I remember saying, don't ever do that. I'm fine with you not blocking the plate and getting hurt for one run. I want you healthy. And because he was certainly tough enough. And again, my point of saying this is that not only was he physically tough, but he's mentally tough. He's one player I remember I could literally go up to after a game. We used to have this little wager with each wager. It wasn't actually a wager. It was more like kind of a fun game where, when he was a really good hitter was when he went to right field. So I told him every time he pulled the ball, I was gonna get on him, and every time he went the other way, he was gonna sort of win that event. And you could really sort of put this kind of pressure on him, and he really responded too. And again, people, it's been a long time since Ramon's been here, but he was a real important part of that team and a part of that group of players that was around for a couple of years.
And you think about your pitching, the only way you're going to have these streaks is not only do you have to have the arms, but they got to get hot together. And Hudson Mulder Zito and then Corey Lytle. I mean, so sad about Corey, but remembering him, I mean, nobody was hotter in the game during that streak than Corey Lytle.
Corey was unbelievable. And it was so satisfying, I think, for a front office because we really Corey came over in the Johnny I think it was a Johnny Damon Mark Ellis deal was at and we really wanted him, and one of the reasons I wanted him, I was a little bit obsessed with getting him. He was kind of a middle reliever up and down guy with Tampa, but I recall, and I think it was 2000, we had a game in September when Tampa came in and we needed every single win, as you know, because we won it on the last day, and Tampa was a team at that time we should have beaten. And I think he came in, it was in Oakland. The game was in Oakland, and he shut us out. And I never forgot that game. And it was like that from that moment on, I was kind of obsessed with getting a guy who seemed to be very underrated. And we were able to include him. In fact, he was the guy that we were insisting on to complete the Damon Ben Grieve deal, which was, I think it was after 01. It was after 2000. I'm sorry. And so to see him sort of blossom the way he did as a starter with us, when that was always the plan, was to put him in the rotation, was really satisfying to everybody, because when he got on a roll, he was really good. Good running, kind of a good running fastball, sinker, a really good split finger, and really, again, about Corey, he had this sort of self-confidence about him. I mean, he was afraid of no one when it came to playing the game of baseball, and he he was really, when he got on a roll, he was tough. And he was, as you said, he was critical in that streak. That's why the streak happened. We were able to just throw out a starter out there every game, beyond our offense and defense. And just that starter could shut you down. And that's a pretty powerful thing in this game.
Yeah, and you had to replace, as you mentioned, Isringhausen moves on. You got Billy Koch, and then we were talking with Ken Korak about it the other day. It's like he threw every game.
Yeah, and Billy also had this sort of like energy to him, which really worked well with our team too in the crowd. Billy was kind of a high energy guy on and off the field, and it worked really, really well here. And as I sort of kid even now, when we brought Billy in, I mean, we gave up a pretty good young player at the time. It was Hinsky, I think, went over that deal, and I think Eric ended up being Rookie of the Year. So thank goodness Billy did have the year. And then at the end of that year, I think we flipped Billy for Keith Folk, and Keith came over and had a couple good runs for us as the closer.
Yeah, pitching, it's amazing. I mean, I know you can build for it and draft it. And today, now with Tommy John surgery, I know you've said in the past, if someone could figure out how to prevent Tommy John surgery, they'd be a billionaire. But what you had with health and stability there in the rotation is just something you pray for as a general manager.
Yeah, and it helped that we were young. It was a young team that stayed healthy. And if you look at that team, not only just the 02 team, but also the 01 team, they were, really starting to hit their prime when they were with us, which was why it was so much fun and why we were so good. But if you look at how long the careers of a lot of those guys went after that, it's really a testament to how much talent was actually there. I mean, those guys went on to play a long time, Miggy in Baltimore, Huddy in Atlanta, Jason played for a long time, as we know. And it was a team that had staying power beyond, the 02 season as well. Even Hattie won a number of years after that. Ramon, again, these guys kept going on, and which is always the thing, if you have any sort of regrets, I say regrets, or things you could wish for, is when you imagine, you talk about how different I was. Imagine, my first year was 98 as the GM, and then all of a sudden 1999 and 2000, we start to create this team. And imagine in a world where you could have kept those guys their entire career. I mean, for the next decade, we might be having this conversation, every year with that group, on what they did. That's the thing that's disappointing. That's what I've always said was, the tough thing about the last 25 years or so is creating something and not really being able to sort of retain it for a number of years to really see how good it can be. We've constantly had to turn over a bit, and as you know, that's a challenge, but you also don't get to see potentially what could be some great years ahead.
The one thing, though, that you do create, and I find it so fascinating whether the players are done and they come back and we have them on, or they're players that are still playing today, what does it mean to you that all these years, these players play for the A's, they move on, they play in other places, have other experiences, but they all seem to say the same thing, that this time in Oakland was the best time of their careers? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's a real credit to the culture that, has been around the organization, particularly, in the baseball operations, which we've had a lot of stability. We kind of let guys just kind of be themselves over here. You kind of, Chris, you and I remember growing up in a weird way. It was a little bit like, if you remember the Oakland Raiders. I mean, they bring in these players and they had this sort of Raider culture.
There we go. How are you, Zach Jackson? How you doing?
Doing good. Good to be back.
We got to pot him up a little bit. Go ahead, talk. How is it?
We good to go?
He needs to go a little louder. Yeah, you got the right. How about that?
Hello.
There you go.
Yeah.
So how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, like I said, glad to be back.
Have you ever been? Do you even know what this is?
The A's Cast?
No, the Treehouse.
This is my first time. Olivia was explaining it to me on the way up here. No, I mean, I could see the advertising sign from the field, but other than that, I've never been up here.
So when they built this hole was built for the Raiders, right?
Okay.
And this was just a generic bar that was for football games. That, every once in a while they opened up for A's games. The A's took it, and we turned it into a tree house, and it's kind of been the party place for families and whatever parties and happy hour. I knew it. Like, you guys have no idea what goes on up here.
I was going to say, outside the locker room and the actual field, I don't think we experiment too much with getting around the stadium. So it's cool to see. Yeah, like I said, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's it's been a very unique place, and that's why I wish you guys, like, when Chris Davis signed his contract extension, we got all the players up here. Kind of had like
that's what Olivia was just telling me about. Like, one of the first big events up here for the players was actually getting everybody up here to see him sign.
Yeah. So right now, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Yeah, like I said, got I guess about 6 weeks left. So we're, like I said, hanging on, just getting obviously a lot of young guys, some experience up here, kind of seeing how everybody works out. But yeah, like I said, it's a long season for the first time for a lot of us young guys. So we're just kind of learning how to manage our bodies at this point and, get to the finish line.
Most people don't think about that, but here you're talking about 162 games where you're having to manage that many games with all the flights, hotels, and all that different stuff, throw more innings than ever before, throw more pitches than ever before. And especially for you, in high leverage situations like never before.
Yeah, it's definitely something, obviously from my perspective, you wouldn't want to be throwing in any other situation. So it's been really nice. But yeah, obviously the increase in appearances definitely didn't help with COVID year, not playing at all that year for, guys like me. Last year I had a shortened season with an injury. So, it's definitely trying to learn how to manage my body. And, you don't think about like the jump in intensity, from even if you're closing games out, AA, AAA, it's not the same. You could throw a mop up inning at this level, and it's, significantly more intense. You definitely feel it a lot more the next day than you do at that minor league level. So that's definitely the biggest adjustment.
Tell us what it's like inside you, those final 3 outs out there on the mound. It's the finality of the game. You're the Grim Reaper. You've come in, and this is it. What is that like, and what's it like inside?
That's what you dream of. I mean, I think that, especially coming up as a reliever, so I've kind of known my role for so long that it's just kind of coming in knowing that, man, if you get to close out a big league game, it doesn't get bigger than that. Like, that's, regardless of the situation, getting those last 3 outs, it's never easy. Always seems to be the hardest 3 outs of the game to get. But yeah, like I said, especially as a rookie, getting a few of those opportunities, it's been huge, for the experience factor. I know a lot of us have gotten, the opportunity to get those last 3 out this year. So I think for all of us, it's just been a big learning experience and, really learn how to handle that pressure and try to thrive in it.
Well, I think about your season. You've had quite a few different roles. How does that work for you when you go down? Do you always know you're going to close? Could it be a situation I could come in the 7th, I could come in the 8th? What's the game plan mostly for you?
Yeah, I mean, usually the way it's gone this year is Acevedo's been great at being our guy, kind of the first guy out of the pen. Say a starter gets in trouble in that, 5th, 6th, 7th inning. We know that he's usually going to be the guy to get out of that. He's been great in that role. So usually he'll be that first righty up. We get a guy, especially what Cole's been able to do lately, where he's getting us into, the 7th, 8th inning of ball games. We know if we're trying to, say switch hitters or obviously mainly righties that are facing him, get a righty like me in there. So a lot of times it's just kind of knowing the situation of, if lefties or righties are coming up, and then, whether it be Puck coming at the end of the game, if there's lefties coming up, Sam Mole, and then, Danny obviously being back now, being able to close that game has been really nice for us, just knowing we have another guy at the back of that bullpen that knows what he's doing.
Well, how about this? I got a scorebook, and I keep score every game, and I don't have it with me here in the Treehouse. But if I did, I would open it for you, and we'd flip through all the pages. You see Acevedo, 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 Acevedo. And it's like every single time you look down, he's up again. Oh, my God. It's like it is amazing how many times he's thrown this year. I mean, do you guys sit back and go, wow?
It is something that is heavily discussed down that bullpen, that, just how well he's done, being, again, another guy at this level for the first time, that kind of workload and just being able to come in every day, know what kind of work he needs to get in before the game to go out there and give his best stuff. And he's done incredible out this year. It's fun to see him work. And I know the starters have a lot of faith in him coming in, especially if, they're coming out of the game with their guys on base that, he's done extremely well this year at succeeding in that role.
Well, and if you're going to pitch that much, you just have to realize that there are going to be days where you don't feel great. There's going to be days where you don't have your best stuff, but it doesn't matter. You need to come in and get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's one of the bigger things at this level. Usually coming up in the minor leagues, especially if you go more than one inning or, say back-to-back days, there is no chance in the world that you're pitching that day. And up here, it's, you're available every day, and it's going in and, learning how to pitch it some days at 80, 85%, seeing, however you have to pitch that day to get guys out, then that's what you need to learn how to do in those situations. And like I said, just for a lot of us young guys, that's been one of the bigger things is learn how to pitch on shorter rest when you're tired out there. And, I think that's been a great learning experience.
How much do you anticipate when you're down in the bullpen while watching the game going, phone might be ringing, you get the exercise band going, you might start stretching out. How much do you anticipate?
Yeah, like I said, it's been easier down the road just because you kind of know the roles that you're falling into. Earlier in the season was honestly a lot more stressful because all of us are trying to figure out what roles we're going to be up here. Kots has no idea what we're capable of. Emo, same thing. It's just kind of figuring out, giving us chances and different opportunities and kind of seeing what we can do with it. So as of late, it's been easier just because we really know what situations we're coming in. But it's been again, just another learning experience and kind of, handling that anxiety and making it as quick as you can, just knowing what situations you're going to be coming into.
All right, I'm getting the wrap-up sign because obviously it's a different deal.
Yeah.
Normally we're on the field. He'd be out earlier. We could talk more. How fired up are you? College football, it's right around the corner.
Man, got that. The one I'm excited for, is it in Ireland, that Northwestern Nebraska game? Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to. I'm sure it's super early in the morning tomorrow, but that's what I'm excited for. Obviously a different environment, but I'm kind of excited to see if Nebraska is, going to come back eventually, or if it's just going to be another year of disappointment. So, yeah, I'm just excited to have something on.
How about the Hogs? How are your Hogs going to be?
Yeah, we got Cincinnati week 1. So I think if we can get through that test, I think we got A&M week 4 and then Bama week 5. So those are going to be the big 3 that, we're looking forward to. I think it's going to be a good year for us.
A lot of people go, God, you guys talk a lot of college football. Our buddy Josh Donaldson, you remember, played here for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh used to call up my talk show years ago to talk college football. He's an Auburn guy.
I knew he was an Auburn guy.
He's an Auburn guy. So we were talking, he came over yesterday, was on the show. He was talking Auburn going, you start looking at the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas coming in. It's like, you guys got to redo this SEC,
it's
right?
I mean, it's getting so big too. It's like eventually it feels like there's going to be 3 conferences in college football, and it's just going to be everybody else is just kind of out. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how it shakes out the next few years. But I'm super excited. Yeah.
All right, I know this was limited time. Next time we get college football, will have started. We'll truly break it down on the field. We have more time. We always love having you on. We appreciate it. You're doing a great job this year. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
So I really appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
The Sarris Show, a debut next right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
Hey A's fans, we've got a great deal for you. Get 4 tickets and parking for all Friday night games starting at just $39. Pick from great matchups, post-game fireworks and drone shows, giveaways, and more.
Outside corner, ring him up. And Eaton can't believe it.
Grab the crew and head to the Coliseum with friends and family any Friday night this season. 4 tickets and parking starting at just $39 for the whole group. Tickets are available at athletics.com. That's athletics.com.
Innovation that's at the heart of Cal State East Bay. Like at our Green Biome Institute, where faculty and students map genes from California's endangered plants. Or how we open doors for local entrepreneurs at our Small Business Development Center. From educators to nurses to STEM professionals, Cal State East Bay has real impact throughout the region's neighborhoods, boardrooms, and entire economy. Be part of the innovation. Connect with Cal State East Bay at csueastbay.edu/impact.
Bring the whole family out to the ballpark for Nickelodeon Night on August 27th, presented by Chevron. With fun for fans of all ages and a post-game drone show. Tickets start at just $15. Grab your seats today at athletics.com.
Streaming from the East Bay, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
We're here in the Treehouse, and of course, it is happy hour time. Come by and see us if you're listening, watching. Come in and partake. We got great drink specials, bingos going on. It's a party here in the Treehouse. This is a special moment in A's Cast Live history, and of course for A's Cast, as we have now inked up a national columnist from The Athletic, and we want you to, are we ready to launch this? Go.
The Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Thank you, Fieldwork Brewing. We
That's
can't
it.
tell you how much we appreciate you bringing us Sarris for the Sarris Show. As if you've watched MLB Network, you read on The Athletic, his work
You watch
is
A's Cast.
You watch A's Cast. It's second to none. And what's awesome about this partnership, beer and you every week.
I know, it's great. I couldn't ask for a better sponsor. I mean, one thing I love about Fieldwork, and we talk about this all the time. You're talking to me about like what beer is right for the season, right?
Yeah.
One thing I really love about Fieldwork is they're really good across the styles. Like they're not just a hazy or this. They have good stouts, they have good sours, they have good everything. So, that's why I'm super happy to partner up with them.
Let's go right there. And the one thing that, like you just said, for a lot of people, you got to mix it up, right? There's stuff you do in the summer, you do the fall, you do in the winter. And if your brewery doesn't keep up with the Joneses, you really fall behind. And as Fieldwork, we just told you, they're going to get you your beer. If you can't go to one of their tap rooms, they'll bring it to your door.
I met their brewer, Alex Tweets, I think 12 years ago in San Diego, and we've been friends ever since. And he's an amazing, amazing brewer. So no matter what he does, he's golden.
And we will be doing an A's Cast Live from their brewery. We're really thankful for this partnership, and we're thankful to have you because there's so many different things that you do. You just don't come on and give us just traditional baseball stuff. We learned about what really humidity is with you. I mean, there's a lot.
I learned a lot too.
Humidors. We learned about so many different things that you're working on, and we talk about The Athletic too. It's also bringing in the partnership with The Athletic, who we've talked about. The journalism is second to none.
Yeah. I had a crazy piece today. Did you get a chance to look at that?
We've been. I have not. I've been doing stuff all day long.
Well, check this out.
It's a COVID piece?
Yes. Baseball players returning from COVID. Hitters returning from COVID. They lose 60 points of OPS in their first 2 weeks back from COVID. Pitchers coming back from COVID, their ERA is 30 points higher in the 2 weeks when they come back from COVID. Their fastballs are more than a half mile an hour slower, and the hitters lose more than a half mile of exit velocity. Like, hitters and pitchers definitely lose athleticism in just the 5 days that sometimes they're out. And if it's 10 days, it's even worse.
First thing I'm thinking about is when you have the virus, how your immune system is in such overdrive fighting the virus that it makes you so weak because everything it has to do to fight the virus, and that just the way our sports work, and I'm sure probably if we looked at football, at basketball, and hockey, we'd probably find something very similar because we want to rush our guys back, right? We don't want to see, hey, take 2 weeks, get your strength back,
That's the thing. We need to win these games.
Yeah. Like, you need to get back. You're in the lineup. You're in now. And especially like when we first started going through this in our shortened 2020 season, you were gone for 2 weeks. Right, you had to be out for 14.
Now it can be 5 days.
Jordan Alvarez seemed like it's like I saw it on MLB Network that he tested positive. It seemed like 3 days later he was in the lineup.
Because if you test negative, you can get back in there. But the problem is, and I was talking for the story, I talked to Chad Pinder, I talked to Jed Lowry, I talked to Mike Yastrzemski, Brandon Belt. So I talked to a lot of local guys about this, and they all said that they were tired, even after they got back in the games, that they had extra fatigue for an extra 2 weeks. That they were just tired going up and down stairs. That one player said he took pregame naps, and he'd never done that before. So he just started needing naps before games. So they're not who they are. And one thing that was really interesting for me researching this piece was that I talked to experts in like sort of trainers, like the high level, high performance they're called now. That I talked to high performance experts, and they said that there are adaptations that your body makes. There are physical adaptations that your body makes that you lose in 3 to 8 days. So you're talking about the fastest speed that you can run, your max speed, like in terms of running, you lose that in 3 to 8 days if you don't get to max speed. Like that's one of the first things you lose is running speed, actually. I didn't think that was true, but it's your max speed, you lose that.
That explains everything about me now. I haven't been to max speed in like 30 years. That explains everything.
Got to get back up there. And then the other one actually it's called the creatine phosphate system. That's a lot of gobbledygook. What it is the fast twitch.
Yeah.
So the fast twitch, and these are adaptations that your body makes when you are a high-level pro athlete. Their bodies have adapted to do things that we can't do. In terms of like having 80-mile-an-hour bat speed, we would have to do all sorts of training. And if we took 5 days off in the middle of that training, we would actually lose steps in that training. And I was amazed that just 3 to 8 days. And that's what's different about COVID versus everything else. Because if you hurt your wrist, you can still run.
Yes.
You can still lift other body parts.
Ride a bike.
You can ride a bike.
The stationary bike.
COVID is, hey, we're going to shut everything down for 5 days, or 4 days. Whatever
Stay at home, isolate.
And it all started because I was trying to train for the half marathon. And I had COVID, and I was like, I have to run this half marathon in 5 weeks. So on day 5 of COVID, I decided I'm going to go out there and run. And the type of running I was doing, I was checking my heart rate, and I was trying to run to a certain heart rate. And that first day back, the heart rate was up like 20% over what it normally was. And I couldn't run. I was super tired, and my pace was off. So I just saw how hard it was to get back on track. And
was that scary at all?
A little bit. It was good that the second run was better, and about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I was back to normal. But that gave me an in to talk to these athletes. I was like, this is what it was like for me. What was it like for you? And we just had a lot of interesting discussions. Jed was particularly impressive in this piece because Jed got it pre-vaccine in 2020 when he was with the Mets. And so in that case, he was out for 3 months. And he said he couldn't get on a bike for 3 months. So he had that experience. And then he caught it again after the vaccine. And he was cool. It was like 3 days of light stuff, but then 2 weeks of still being tired.
So let's take it to a team standpoint. We're about winning baseball games. COVID is not going away, and it's staying with us for we don't know how long. We thought we wouldn't be having these conversations anymore. We're still having these conversations. So I'm not saying we're not going to deal with this next season. So should we as a sport really think about if you get COVID, especially if you have the fever and you have the symptoms, and it's not good for me to try and win a baseball game with you. Like you're not helping me. If you're
tired, if you have to take a nap.
I know it's that dumb saying you'll hear people say, if I can only get 60% out of this guy, no.
Yeah.
I mean, is that really all right, he's got COVID. We really got to think about him at least for not a week being a part of this thing.
And I think the best way to do it is, I'm a data guy, I'm a numbers guy, right?
Yeah.
I talked to one team that said, no, we have cardio and cardiac. We have like heart baseline. We have baselines on everybody, and we want them to get back to those baselines before we put them on the field. So that's how you deal with how everyone gets it differently, right? So if we know what your resting heart rate is, then we can throw you back on the field if you can get back to that resting heart rate as soon as you get back to that. If we know what your max speed is, if you can get back to that max speed, then we can send you back out there. So there's certain benchmarks you can have. But the flip side of it is, think about you're a team that's going to the playoffs. And you don't want them to get it at all, especially if they're going to be reduced maybe in the playoffs, right? So I think something that you should be thinking about, and this is difficult because you feel like, hey, we're business is open. We can have fun again. you might want to talk to your team about, hey, do we want to have voluntary kind of restrictions on our
bubble.
social lives? Do we want to kind of like chill out on the socializing in the last 2 weeks of September at least, so that nobody, not like Garrett Cole doesn't get, and like then he's out, So, and even if he comes back after 5 days, he's not as good because he's tired. So, I know
That's real.
I know for certain that teams are talking about this. I know for certain that they're talking about this, talking about what they want to do. The managers are thinking about it, and they're going to talk to their players at some point.
Well, because what you're saying is if you get COVID, there's a chance you're not you for at least 2 weeks.
And that's the playoffs.
And we don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Is it what is our COVID list right now? If we have a player go on COVID, we're able to bring a player up and replace him. That's what I'm just trying to think. Like a COVID list still is going to need to be here for a while now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the bubble seems smart for the playoff teams. Now, I mean, doesn't mean you still can't get it. I mean, the odds of you getting it for another player being outside is slim. But yeah, when you start talking about why your kids are going to school, I mean, it's
something to think about. I don't know. I don't have any answers. And really, the real thrust of the piece for me was just that everyone's coming back at a different pace. Everyone gets affected by it differently. And to me, the piece, if there was a point to the piece, it was like have some sympathy for your brother. You know what I mean? Have some sympathy for your sister. Like, have some sympathy for each other as we come back off of this, because some people are going to get long COVID. Some people are going to get it really bad. Some people are going to laugh it off and say it was nothing. But, have some sympathy for the other people, because everyone's sort of coming through it at a different pace.
Yeah, and as, they tried to start throwing at us that this was a virus of the unvaccinated, and then all the vaccinated and people that had it already are getting it again.
Yeah.
So it's like it's changed so many times, and it's not ending anytime soon. So something good, I can't wait to read it, because obviously this truly affects now. God, you think about it. Can you imagine 2 or 3 of your top players get it right for the playoffs? We normally would say, in 5 days they're back, but you're saying, no, that's not it. They may be
1
back.
mile an hour less fastball.
But they're not back. You're working on a piece about fly balls.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because the numbers say that if you throw 50% fly balls, if you hit 50% fly balls, right, as a hitter, you can still be very productive. In fact, you can be just as productive as someone who hits fewer fly balls, because you're hitting a lot of homers, right? But what happens is your batting average is crap. Guys who hit 50% fly balls and up usually hit 210, because they're hitting a lot of pop-ups, they're hitting a lot of fly-outs, and a lot of homers, right? I've been talking to hitters that hit 50% fly balls, and they're aware of that, and they don't like it. And a lot of them, they think it's too much. So the question is there too many fly balls? The numbers say not really. You get a lot of homers. You're still very productive. But the hitters say, no, I talked to Seth Brown, who last year hit 50% fly balls, and he said, that's what was asked of me. I was a part-time player. When they put me in, I was like, I need to make an impact right now. I'm going to hit a homer. So everything was going to be in the air.
Yeah.
But now that I'm an everyday player, they're asking different things of me, where, sometimes I need to move the guy over. Sometimes I need to get on base. Sometimes I need to cover the plate. Sometimes and so he said it's actually been more of a conscious decision this year to be able to cover more of the plate, to be able to hit a little bit better average, a little bit more on base, and not hit as many fly balls. And so you've seen his fly ball rate go down, his on-base percentage go up, his strikeouts go down. So there is all that relationship where all these things happen that way. And, it could be better for the game if more people were not hitting 50% fly balls, I think.
Here's a player. I don't know what his fly ball rate is, but any idea, Giancarlo Stanton?
He's actually not. He's a kind of, a lot of his are lasers.
Okay, well, his lasers, I was looking at his numbers. So he's got 24 home runs and only 6 doubles. And I started saying to myself, okay, great. He went back home to L.A., won the All-Star Game MVP.
Yeah.
But here's a guy that we act like's a big star, doesn't play defense, DH, he's got 24 jacks, You look at his RBIs.
Less than 300 on base, I think.
You're now talking about a lot of solo home runs, very few extra base hits. Now, the OPS will be high. But I'm like, how really productive is this guy? Is hitting Corey Seager down in Texas. Not great defensively. A lot of solo bombs. Is that really a great player?
Well, I think the game, in some ways the game is going away from that a little bit. Giancarlo Stanton represents the first wave of StatCast, where we were like, hey, he hits the ball really hard. And Stanton has, well, O'Neal Cruz just hit the hardest hit of all time. Yeah. But numbers 2 through 25 are Giancarlo Stanton. So he's hit the hardest balls ever. And, in the StatCast era, the first era of it was let's get all the guys who hit the ball hard, right? And that was the big thing for the Yankees, really. Got a lot of big guys who throw the ball hard, spin the ball hard, a lot of high spin rates and a lot of high exit velocities. I think we're moving away from that a little bit when we realize that strikeout rate is actually super important in the postseason. It becomes more important in the postseason than the regular season even. The ability to put a lottery ticket in play, the ability to make contact off a high velo pitcher, to make contact off a really good stud ace. And contact matters.
Not strikeout, contact.
Yeah, contact. So as people saw what the Astros were doing, because the Astros have been kind of out in front of a lot of these trends. They saw the Astros and the Cubs improve their strikeout rate year over year more than any other team in baseball those years, and they won it all. Those years they won it all, they improved their strikeout rate more than any other team in baseball. And so other teams, I think, are starting to see contact matters, strikeout rate matters. I don't want a guy who strikes out 30% of the time, hits 50% fly balls, hits me 25 jacks, has a 280 on-base percentage. I'm not sure that's exactly what I want.
Because in a 7-game series, everything changes. And wouldn't you say that's why the Yankees have been vulnerable? They haven't been to the World Series since 2009. During 162, we've talked about this with the A's, how they play. Works for 162. How does this work in a small series?
I've got another name for you, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Especially, so teams that – I look at the Yankees, so much of their offensive production comes from the home run. Well, what happens if they don't hit home runs?
There's a complicated truth, which is teams that score a lot of runs from their home runs do fine in the postseason. That part is okay. It's also true that contact matters more. So really what you want to do is hit a lot of home runs and make contact. That should be easy, right?
I can't figure this out.
But that's what the Astros do. They hit a lot of home runs, they make a lot of contact. That's
correct. They don't strike out.
That's right. That's what you want to do, is not strike out. The antithesis of this is the Braves. They won it all last year. They strike out a lot. They chase balls. But that does make you vulnerable in a 5-game series where your guys can all go cold, because that just happens to be that time of the year where they strike out a lot, or they don't match up well against those pitchers and they strike out a lot. And then you have feast or famine kind of idea. And that's what happens with strikeouts. You're feast or famine.
What's the problem with the Rays in the postseason?
They strike out a lot.
You just become easy outs.
Yeah. And they you'll see they have to win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1.
Would you say that with technology, new trends have emerged, and maybe sometimes teams, like certain businesses, jump too fast into an early trend and go all in, and then it hurts them?
We have a fascinating test case of this right today with the Yankees and the A's, because the Yankees are always way out in front on technology and data. And so they are all over these concepts that we've talked about on the show before. Stuff like seam shifted wake. Like I said earlier, they had a lot of high spin rate guys early. They are really into data and tech, and that's great. The A's on this side can't necessarily afford all the same data and tech, aren't investing the same way in the player development. And so they've, in fact, made a lot of trades with the Yankees, and they have targeted players that are being left behind in this age of things like my Stuff Plus metric, all these like sort of advancements in data and tech. So when you get a guy like J.P. Sears, and you get a guy like Cole Irvin, and you get a guy like Paul Blackburn.
Waldichuk,
I don't know. He has some strikeout. I don't know exactly what his stuff is like. But I think particularly Sears, Blackburn, and Irvin strike me as guys who they hide the ball okay. They have a lot of pitches. They all have at least 3 or 4 pitches, maybe 5, and they command it pretty well. And they're better than the sum of their parts. They're able to dance, they're able to pitch, and so the A's have been like, hey, if we can't out stuff plus you, and if we can't out data and tech you, then maybe we're going to go, backwards in a way. We're going to be like, hey, this is a pitcher. Our scouts say he's a pitcher. He's a guy who's been better than you'd expect. He's outperformed his stuff plus. Why not? Let's lean into that. And we're going to lean into the unknown a little bit here. We might not be able to quantify it as good as the Yankees can quantify their stuff plus, but we've got some interesting pitchers here and some guys who've made it work.
That's what's going to be fascinating. It's just not everything you're going to do with us each week through the postseason, but really in the offseason, when you can really go in a deep dive and explain, okay, when you're reading my stuff, this is what I mean. And I really explain, like, I've come up with stuff, but you have stuff plus.
Yeah, location plus, pitching plus, yeah.
I mean,
wait, it's on a beer can now. We got a stuff plus beer can. I'm going to get you some of that.
Field work.
Yeah, right now. I can't mention the other one. No,
just field work.
The full tilt is it made the.
Can I please get my? I will improve this. I just wanted to show you the capabilities of what we will have for you. Hit it.
The Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Sponsor of the Sarris Show.
We're doing this all year. It's not just during the regular season. We can break down winter meeting stuff. We can break down trades. We can do anything.
Well, and the great thing is too for Fieldwork, it's like holiday time. Promote how this is a great gift because I've given something like this to my brother.
Wife is listening. I'll take a box of Fieldwork.
Yeah, I mean, you get on that like you can buy like the Christmas gift where beer shows up every month.
Yeah, beer of the month, club.
Right? Isn't that nice? Are you saying we're done? The show's over?
All right. Well, hey,
we're promoting Fieldwork Brewing here for
we got next week.
We got next week,
and then we got that.
You know how much respect we have for you and the work you do is second to none. And now that you're officially a part of us every single week, Fieldwork Brewing, fantastic. It's going to be a win-win.
Yes, thanks so much, guys.
Coming up next, we'll have A's Total Access getting you ready for the Athletics and the Yankees on a little Friday night. Make sure you come to the Treehouse here for a little happy hour. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening on A's Cast and A's Cast Live.
Hey A's fans, check out Longport Fish Company, an exciting new chef-driven seafood restaurant located in the